Hey, how you doing? So in my last video, I did pork roll and cheddar stuffed meatballs, and I want to stick with that whole pork roll thing. So today I'm doing pork roll and smoked Gouda homemade pierogies, and we're gonna throw it all together, and then we're gonna fire it up on the Blackstone and fry them up, make them crispy and delicious. Stick around. This is amazing. So this recipe is going to make about 65 pierogies, which is great because pierogies freeze really well. We're going to start with 6 cups of flour, 2 eggs beaten, 6 tablespoons of canola oil or vegetable oil, 2 teaspoons of salt, I'm using sea salt, and about 1.5 cups of water. If after you're mixing it up it seems a little dry, you can always add a little bit more water. Then we're going to mix it all up using a dough hook. And after about 3 or 4 minutes, the dough should pull away from the sides. You're good to go. Take it off, cover it with plastic wrap. You're going to want to let it sit for about an hour. Now onto the filling. I got about 3.5 pounds of potatoes here. Slice them, chop them up. You're making mashed potatoes basically. Throw them in a pot of boiling water. While those are boiling, I'm going to take a couple tablespoons of butter, put them in a pan. Then I'm going to take 1 medium-sized onion, slice it up, chop it up little pieces. Then you're going to want to soften it up with that butter in that frying pan. Keep it over medium heat, takes a couple minutes. We don't want to really brown them, we just want to soften them up. And once your potatoes are fork tender, throw them in a mixing pot, add the onions, and then you're going to want to dice up some of Jersey's finest pork roll. If you can't find pork roll, you could always substitute bacon or just leave it out, whatever. Then I'm going to throw in 4.5 cups of smoked Gouda that I've already shredded up here. About a teaspoon and a half of white pepper. Throw in the cheese. And I'm going to hold off on the pork roll until after this is all kind of mixed together and smoothed out some. I don't want to beat up the pork roll too much. Oh yeah, throw in 2 tablespoons of butter with that too. And then once it's all come together, you throw your pork roll in there, give it a good stir, and then you're good to go with your filling. And after this dough's had about an hour to rest, I'm going to throw some flour down on my work surface, pour the dough out onto it. And I like to give it a little coating so it's not quite so sticky. And then I'm going to hack off a good hunk of that dough. I'm going to wrap up the stuff that I'm not working with so it doesn't dry out on me, and I'm going to set that aside. Then again, I'm going to flour my work surface, grab that piece of dough that I had, kind of pat it out, and then I'm going to use a rolling pin to flatten it out and stretch that out. The idea here is to get the dough down to about 1/8 of an inch thin. And this recipe is really good because the dough is a lot like Play-Doh and it's pretty forgiving. So you can go pretty thin with it. If you've got a cookie cutter that's about 3 inches wide, use that. But I found that a pint glass works really well too. And you're just pressing out your circles. Then you take all your leftover dough, ball it up, and put it back into the mix with the other dough. Then you're going to take your filling, grab about 1.5 tablespoons worth. I always make sure I got a couple good chunks of pork roll in there. Ball it up and just plop it right in the middle of one of your circles. Then you just fold it over and pinch it closed as tight as you can. And then basically just rinse and repeat 65 times. I did find that I got a tighter seal if I used just a couple drops of water right along half the lip. Kind of helped make a glue. And once I had a full tray of these, I threw them into the freezer. Freezing them first, all laid out like this, will make it easy to throw them into a Ziploc bag later. Now cooking the pierogies couldn't be easier. You could do this with fresh pierogies like these. You could wait until they're frozen and throw them in frozen. You're basically throwing them into a pot of boiling water until they float. It's about 2, 3, 4 minutes. Then I'm taking them outside to the Blackstone to fry them up with a little butter. That's going to give them that nice crispiness, that crunch. So I throw about 1.5 tablespoons of butter onto the Blackstone. Blackstone's on medium heat, so it might be 350, 400 degrees, and I spread it around. You can do this in a frying pan or any kind of griddle, doesn't matter. I love this Blackstone because I can cook them all at once. And cleanup is so much easier. And honestly, it's like 5 minutes on one side, give them a flip, 5 more minutes. When they're nice and golden brown and crispy, you're done. Then as soon as they come off the griddle, I like to hit them with a little bit more salt, a little fresh parsley, and you're good to go. Okay, so here we go. You got that crunch right off the bat, but then the ooey gooiness on the inside. Pork roll, the smokiness from that Gouda. If you're gonna go through the trouble of making pierogies, I would say make a lot of them and freeze them, and then just break them out whenever you want them. Nothing beats homemade pierogies. All right, thanks for watching. I'll catch you next time. So good. So good.